Hey guys, it's Ghosdee. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be ranking the Paranormal Activity movies. I was inspired to revisit the series because some of my favorite YouTubers, Dead Meat James and Chelsea, are currently discussing these movies on their podcast. Nightmare on Film Street, which is another podcast that I really enjoyed, covered this about a month ago. Watching Dead Meat and then listening to the Nightmare on Film Street podcast really just made me want to revisit the series. I watched each movie as it came out. I couldn't remember much aside from the general story. I was super excited to get back in and revisit these films. Paranormal Activity 3. Paranormal Activity 3 was such a great revisit. When I first saw it, it hit all the good spots. Like, it terrified me. It added to the story, which I'm a big narrative person. I love fucking prequels. The pre-shit to the shit. I enjoyed that scene where just like there's nobody and then all of a sudden there's all these fucking old people. That was like the scariest jump scare in the entire movie. That was all I needed back then. But now that I rewatched it, I love Dennis. I love Dennis. Dennis is my favorite protagonist out of the whole Paranormal Activity series. It's really interesting because in the other films, there's always this person that's like so anti-ghost and like they negate the whole thing. Personally, that's really irritating to me. There wasn't a lot of negation in this film. In most of the other films, the person that is experiencing the activity is not behind the camera most of the time. He is the cameraman and the reason why there is filming. That oscillating fan camera in the living room, ooh, talk about fucking anxiety. I was like waiting for it to go up and then all of a sudden there's like a face in the camera. The spooky shit in this film happened sooner than it did in the other films. The first two Paranormal Activities, you meet the family, you stay with the family for a minute until you see the spooky shit. You might get some fake spooky shit. You may talk about the spooky shit, but you don't see it. But they get into spooky shit very fast in this film. It does so much for the story. When I think of the Paranormal Activity series, this is the one that comes to mind first. This is definitely the one that I enjoyed the most. Paranormal Activity. This rewatch is what made me like Paranormal Activity more in regards to the series as a whole. This rewatch was great. I wasn't looking for the scary shit. I was looking for exposition, and this movie does exposition pretty well. I did not know that. When I first watched, I just want to watch a fucking ghost fuck some shit up. It's very like standard. It's like nighttime spooky shit, daytime exposition, and then Katie gives an amazing performance. Every found footage to me, even if it didn't specifically say it was real, it worked for me saying that it was real. That's what was scary for me, thinking that it was real. And I'm pretty sure I thought this movie was like mostly real, but maybe not entirely real. The way that it's filmed, it seems and feels very real. The acting makes it so real. Today, a lot of found footage struggles with that. A lot of found footage just looks like very rehearsed Snapchat videos and Instagram videos. This Paranormal Activity is the most real to me. Mika is just a fucking hilarious character. Half believing ass. Comparing to other Paranormal Activities, there's always that character or group of characters that negate the protagonist that believes in the ghost. He negates it, but in a very comedic way. One thing that I didn't notice in my first watch, I probably didn't notice because the intent of this sound is so you don't notice, you just feel it. This low drone, like very low sound that just plays whenever there's some sort of activity happening at night. You hear that, you just feel dread and you're just like, fuck. I still close my eyes at the ending of this. CGI fucking demon ghost thing, I don't fuck with those. Paranormal Activity 2. When I first saw this film, I loved this. I loved what it did to the series. And the reason why the second one is not above the first one is because I just don't think that it does the exposition as well. And on top of that, I hate the dad, and I hate that in the end he's like, oh fuck, and then like the end is so rushed. Allie like, dad, something's wrong, dad, something's wrong, dad, something's wrong, and he's like, no, and then finally the mom is like, and they're like, he's like, oh fuck, I fucked up, and then like that, I did not like that at all. It just kind of ruined the experience for me. This still feels real. Like, the first one. This one had more of a home movie, home video type feel. There were some parts that were like, why would you guys have a camera on during this conversation? I just don't really care too much for the ending. I do want to say though, that second ending is great. When Katie comes back and snaps that nigga's neck, yeah, I'm here for it. Because in the first one, it's silence and then you get like a jump scare in the end. You're watching and you're waiting for another jump scare in the end, but she literally just walks away with Hunter. That itself is why I loved this second movie so much when I first watched it. I was like, oh my god, like that sad ending of like it being rushed and the dad coming to realization, them transferring the demon, like, oh, okay, kind of underwhelming. But then like Katie comes and snaps a fucking neck, and I don't know, that was pretty great for me. Before we watching this series as a whole, the first three were such strong films for me compared to the other three. I still feel very like true to that. I don't like want to discredit the others and say that they're bad movies. Initially I did, but now that I rewatch it, I don't want to say that they're bad movies, but I don't think they're as strong, and I think that the series was fine with just the first three and that we didn't need these other movies. But it's not a bad thing that they exist. Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. This first watch back in 2014, I hated this film. I had no recollection of this film other than me not liking it. But damn, this movie started and it started strong. I love the first half of this film. Love the family's Hispanic. Let's be cultural in this bitch. And they're funny. I had more fun watching a Hispanic family than like white rich people. I related to this family more. I love the main character, Jesse, and his stupid ass friend. I do want to say that there were some like fucking like continuity issues with the story. You find out that Jesse's mom was a part of the midwives, which is the whole cult of this series. They're just a fucking witch cult, which I have some issues with because I am a witch and I don't agree with what media does to being a witch. Not all witches are evil. Actually, I've never met an evil witch in my entire life, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, this is like this witch cult that basically like has like agreements with this demon dude, and this demon dude is like, yeah, if you like give me your firstborn son, like I'll give you wealth. Like that was established in the first three films, and here we meet this family where that has happened and they aren't wealthy. This is a film about Hispanic people, and representation is not great for anyone that's not white. Like if you're on film and you're not white, you're probably gonna be like poor. We're trying to break those barriers in 2019. I'm proud of you. We like to see successful non-white people on screen, but this is 2014. We hadn't reached that yet. Obviously set them in like some poor area of California. I didn't understand that. I was just like, okay, so I get what you're doing, but also like that doesn't make fit with the story. This family should have wealth, unless like they somehow mention like, oh, the exchange isn't always wealth. And they also introduced this idea of like the moms die at birth, but that isn't the case for Katie's family either. I love that scene where he discovers his powers and he's just having fun with them. Oh man, this is so cool, man, no, oh man, you know, like that was fucking hilarious. And they go post it online and they're like, we're gonna get so many views. I'm like, that's 2011 for sure. This ending, it fell apart. It fell apart when Jesse is turning evil and he discovers what he have is like this demon thing, and it gets just so diluted and like, what the fuck. And then they go to this house, and I remember writing like, how long are they gonna walk around this house until something happens? In general, this film is such a breath of fresh air with like the family that's the center of it, with the perspective of like a person being possessed, like actually possessed, rather than like the house we think the house is possessed and then you learn that it's a demon and not a ghost. It was a nice pull away from like the very formulaic series. Hey guys, it's Ghosdee, just chiming in to say that I forgot an essential part to the ending of this film. After everyone dies in the house they end up, in the end, Jesse actually ends up time traveling back to Katie and Mika's house in 2006. And we finally get to see what the fuck happens downstairs before Katie throws him into the camera upstairs, which was a pleasant surprise. I was pretty much over this film until that happened, and it tied some loose ends for me that were mentioned. They mentioned time travel earlier in the film and did nothing with it, so I'm glad that they took that here. And then furthermore, it's very essential to Ghost Dimension, so kudos, Mark Ones, kudos to you on that one. Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension. This was initially my last pick, but after reconsidering and just the idea that when I went to bed after I saw this film, I could not stop thinking about that ending. This is sitting with me more than 4 is. There are some structural things I had like issues with. As far as like in many of the other ones, it would be like nighttime spooky shit, daytime exposition, nighttime spooky shit, daytime exposition, and we weren't getting that. There were a lot of scenes that were just like did not need to happen. They did not push the plot for me. But this was a lot of fun, and it introduced that time travel shit, man. It kind of kept you guessing. It definitely kept me guessing because you're trying to figure out what is it that this family has that Toby wants. They introduced the whole like she was born on the same day and they need her blood and Hunter / fucking Wyatt's blood to make this demon have a body. The dad is a lot of fun. I don't know, it's something about having dads as like the believer is great, because I really just can't stand when like they do like the crazy woman trope, like nobody will believe her, she's crazy. I hate seeing that on film. So when the dad is like the one that believes, this feels good. You think that this film is said and done, they escape the evil, and all of a sudden you just see Katie and Christy. But I hate how short it is. Like you see them and she's like, my friends are here. And then he's like, what the fuck? And it's over. And I'm like, I need more on this. That's what creeped me out. That's what I kept thinking about it. I'm like, fuck, like this shit runs deep. I can't even think about anything else that I really liked about this film besides the funny moments, the ending, and the dad. And the time traveling. Those can be valid reasons, right? Paranormal Activity 4. I needed this rewatch because I did not like that I hated this film so much, and I hated this film like the most. This rewatch definitely changed my idea of the film. Robbie! I love him. I want to adopt him so much. He's so essential to making this film entertaining to me. I don't like that he's a red herring though, because when you realize that he's not Hunter, it's kind of like, why is this kid here? It makes sense that Wyatt had to be Hunter, but like, Robbie is such a great character. The found footage idea here feels less real. This one feels rehearsed. Like I mentioned earlier, very rehearsed YouTube videos. The way they were catching the spooky activity, which they were like recording their screens, was a cool idea, but also is impossible. That just kind of bothered me. In general, I'm not in love with what this did to the story. I just don't think it added much to the story. I felt the ending was kind of anticlimactic as well. The first 3, the final act is so hardcore. I didn't hate this experience, it's just like, there are better Paranormal Activity movies for sure. I definitely had a love-hate relationship with rewatching this series. Love because ghosts, spooks, and like the story is just interesting in general, but they are repetitive. So by like day 2 of watching these films, I'm like, oh, and I'm just not as connected with found footage films as I was growing up. If you haven't seen them in a minute, you should probably rewatch them. Just see them with a new set of eyes. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up and leave a comment on your thoughts of the Paranormal Activity series. If you want updates of my future content, you can always subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications when I post new videos. You can follow me on Letterboxd at Ghosdee, Twitter at Ghosdee, and Instagram at Disco Llama. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next video.